Hello everyone, I welcome you all to ET Energy World webinar, World Environment Day series. To present this webinar, I welcome Mr. Amit Kumar, partner, Clean Energy, PwC India, on the topic Energy Efficiency, Optimizing Energy Use for a Brighter India. There will be a presentation on the topic followed by a question and answer session wherein you may submit text question to today's presenter by typing your questions into the questions pane of the control panel. You may send in your questions at any time during the presentation. We will collect these and address them during the question and answer session at the end of the presentation. Now I request Mr. Amit Kumar to start the presentation. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. So today, as he mentioned, the topic is on energy efficiency, optimizing energy use for a brighter India. It is actually consisting of two parts. One, the energy efficiency per se, and the second is the electric vehicle, because energy efficiency or conservation in the transport sector is going to be a big theme going forward. Let me first start with the core energy efficiency. Let me have a look at the energy intensity of Indian economy versus where do we stand globally. So if we define energy efficiency intensity or energy intensity trend in megajoules per rupee, then it has come down from 0.46 megajoules per rupee in the year 2006-7 to something like 0.27 megajoules per rupee in the year FY16. So this is a drastic drop in the energy intensity in the Indian economy as compared to global leverage, which has remained almost static because it was 0.11 and it has come down to 0.85, close to 0.85 in the same period. What has been the reason for this drastic reduction in the energy intensity in India? Number one, we have moved towards a more services sector as far as the economy is concerned, as compared to an energy intense consumption in the industrial sector and the commercial. So because of the share of services being more as compared to others, so that has led to reduction in the energy consumption for better productivity. And second is that a lot of action has been taken from policy, from regulatory perspective, and also importantly from implementation perspective. That is what we will discuss next. What has been the journey so far? Actually, energy efficiency is not a new phenomenon. The conservation activities started way back in 1970s after the first oil crisis came about. And then the government of India thought that why don't we have a separate department, and that department, because it was initiated because of the oil prices going high, they came out with an organization called PCRA, Petroleum Conservation Research Association. And then subsequently they thought that why only oil, let us expand it to other sectors, other fuel. So they formed a department called Energy Management Center, EMC, in the late 80s, early 90s. And then subsequently, Energy Conservation Act was passed by the Parliament in 2001. And because of this act, an institution called Bureau of Energy Efficiency came about. BEE, as in short it is called, it is an autonomous body under Ministry of Power, and it was established in the year 2002. BEE, after initial years of formation, they dealt with the policy, regulatory, what is happening overseas, globally. In particular, that has an imprint of what the developments which took place in Japan. So a lot of the programs are based on the Japanese experience in India in the initial years, and they launched these programs in the year 2006. ECBC, Energy Conservation Building Code, which deals with the energy conservation or energy efficiency activities in the buildings. This was developed in the year 2007. And very importantly, in 2008, National Action Plan on Climate Change came about. And this NAPCC had 8 different parameters, one of which was to deal with energy efficiency. And subsequently, in the year 2009, under the NAPCC, National Mission on Enhanced Energy Efficiency, NMEEE as it is called, was launched. Now, NMEEE actually gave focus on various activities related to financing, related to innovative implementation programs, and so on and so forth. And we had in a real sense, we had energy efficiency programs on the policy and regulatory side launched. Post NMEEE era, we break it actually into two parts, from EC Act till NMEEE, by which time mostly the policy and the regulatory actions took place. And post NMEEE era is basically on focusing on high energy intensity, sectors like industries and all, and the targets defining PAT program, Perform Achievement Trade program, and also the implementation through EESL. So in the post NMEEE era, amendment of this act was carried out in the year 2010, and then there were various programs launched subsequently. Now, there are various figures in the market, and these figures are getting revised, if I can say so. So in a sense, it is dynamic. But the latest study which we carried out for the World Bank and the ESL, we estimated that the total energy efficiency potential, investment potential to achieve energy efficiency in the country is close to 35 billion US dollars, which in Indian rupees at that point of time last year was 252,158 crores, 2,52,000 crores roundabout. Now, if we see the breakup, out of this 74,000 crores or $11 billion are projected under NMEEE, and mostly you will find that it is the energy intensive industries, and the remaining 44,000 in the other key demand side economic sectors. Whereas 178,000 crores or $24 billion is based on the recent trends in the market, like LED street lighting and innovative market transformation business models, which I'll come to later. This slide also gives you a breakup in different sectors like industry, what is the energy saving potential, the investment required, and how much investment potential in terms of rupees crores is. Thermal power, which on the supply side is also added into it, where we find a potential of something like 23,000 crores, and energy saving in million tons of oil equivalent being 4.55. Next, what is the driver or the push for creation of the energy conservation market in India? So INDC, as we all know, with the government of India, has come about that by 2030, the emission intensity of GDP will be reduced by 33 to 35% from the baseline, which was there in 2005. So that is a very ambitious goal of emission reduction. And this actually gives a push and a lot of zeal to the program of energy conservation, energy efficiency in the country. Now, based on India Energy Outlook 2015, it is estimated that our economy will grow to 5 times of what it is today by the year 2040. So with this kind of economic growth, obviously a lot of energy demand would be there. And of course, to meet that demand, one is that we'll have to work on our supply side, but at the same time, without compromising on the productivity and efficiency, we have to focus on the energy efficiency aspect as well. There is in this government a lot of focus on Make in India, which essentially means that lot of industrial activity to take place to enhance the existing capacities and also come up with the new capacities. So that will also create a lot of demand in terms of energy. Now, at the same time, high abatement potential through energy efficiency means that 51% share in cumulative abatement potential between 2010 and 2035 as per the IE estimates. So these are some of the policy push at national level. And if you look at the micro level or the creation of market, so that means that market transformation for energy efficiency, it will lead to some kind of energy efficiency financing platform, partial risk guarantee fund, partial risk sharing fund. This is what the government in consultation with World Bank is coming out. There is a Perform Achievement Trade scheme for large industries, and there is a BSME program for small and medium enterprises, where World Bank, SIDBI, everybody is pitching in. Plus, at the same time, now UNIDO is working with ESL Energy Efficiency Services Limited for giving a push to productivity and energy efficiency in the small and medium enterprises. Now, if you like to see how the institutional and regulatory framework for energy efficiency in India works, so I'll put it in three different blocks. The vision and direction being given by the central agency, Bureau of Energy Efficiency, and then they have at the state level different designated agencies, SDAs or SNAs as they are called. Just like the renewables, they also have a state designated agency. They work in tandem with the central government agency, BE, and are responsible for certain activities as well defined in the Energy Conservation Act. On top of it, the state electricity regulators, they also work on the demand side management and work with the different stakeholders in particular state on the regulatory side of it. Now, supporting ecosystem, and because there will be a huge, as I mentioned earlier in one of the slides, that huge investment which is going to take place. So a lot of financing will be required. And to meet the requirement, financial institutions like SIDBI and IRIDA also, and Tata Clean Tech in the private sector, they provide financing to ESCOs and end use sectors. On top of it, multilateral and bilateral agencies have become suddenly very active. I'll say that, in the last many years, I have not seen the kind of activity which is coming from World Bank, ADB, and the other bilateral agencies like AFW, AFT, and all. So, and the line of credit they are pushing in this country is huge. I mean, they are talking of $1 billion, kind of, each one of them. For example, the ADB has already disbursed something like 200 million. They're talking of another 500 million. World Bank just last week only, they announced 300 million in the sector. KFW has already pumped in 400 million euros, and they are talking for the next line of credit. AFD from the French government is talking of 200 million, and that is for the building energy efficiency. So that is the kind of activity which is coming in from all, and they are interested because a lot of things are happening on the ground in the country. So the supporting ecosystem is in a loop. They put in money, something happens, very positive things happen, and then they're again interested in putting in money. Bureau of Indian Standards (BIS) they set the standards for energy efficient appliances, and you might have seen the labels on different products, both household gadgets and the commercial and industrial sectors. So these labels are set by Bureau of Energy Efficiency in consultation with Bureau of Indian Standards. So they are working in tandem, and now there are many products available which have a 1 star to 5 star, 5 star being the maximum, and 1 star being the lowest in terms of energy consumption. And these stars and the label program is a continuously evolving. That means every few years you will find that they will be revised upwards. On the execution side, Energy Efficiency Services Limited is the mother ESCO, and they are the implementing agency again under the Ministry of Power, Government of India. And this has been provided by the 5 public sector power PSUs, and they have put in money and equity. Now ESL is taking along all the stakeholders, mostly to start with the government, but importantly in the private sector, the small ESCOs, and they are getting implemented a large scale program, which I'll come to later on. So ESL, as I said, that on the execution side of it, they have come out and they have launched different programs to implement mega scale, mega in the sense that some of these programs are unparalleled globally, like the Ujala scheme. So 770 million bulbs, LED bulbs, bulbs are replaced by the LED bulbs. And 770 million is a huge quantity. And it has resulted in cost reduction of the LED bulb to the extent that these are available in the market. Everybody can go to the shop and buy these. And in fact, people have forgotten the CFLs. They are competing. In fact, times they are lower than the CFL. So directly, we have leapfrogged from the conventional FTL and the incandescent bulb to the LED technology, bypassing literally the CFLs. In the Ujala scheme, 100% investment is by ESL, and there is a 90%, up to 90% energy saving, depending on what was the existing bulb or the tube light already employed. And repayment is through energy saving or upfront payment. Both options are available. And importantly, as I said, that bulk procurement has led to the economies of scale. Similar schemes are being run by ESL on other sectors as well. In the street lighting SLNP program, as it's Street Light National Program, as it is called, there is no upfront cost, and ESL is giving some sort of a guarantee of 50% energy saving, and the repayment by the ULBs or the state authorities, either the municipality or the state authorities, is through the savings which is achieved on a monthly basis or a quarterly basis. Similarly, in another program called MEEP, which is the Municipal Energy Efficiency Program, and where they are changing the pumps, water pumps and the sewage pumps. To start with, they are going with the water pumping system in a city. No upfront cost to the ULB, urban local bodies, and the recovery again is through the energy saving, which is achieved. AGDSM program is a very unique program, again undertaken first of its kind globally. There is a no upfront cost to the farmers and the distribution company, and the farmer gets free of cost this pump, along with during the concessionary period 5 to 7 years. They also get free maintenance from the vendors, from the pump suppliers. So it results in reduction in the load shedding, and also the subsidy burden on the government, on the state government, comes down to that same extent. So similarly, on the building side, we program all the electric vehicle, and I'll have a separate section of electric vehicle, so I'll not go in detail. But just look at the kind of programs, the portfolio which ESL has developed in the last 2 3 years, and also the model. So the model is very simple: aggregation and economies of scale, because of which, without compromising on the quality, they are bringing down the cost to the consumer, so that there is more adaptability and also acceptance among the different consumer class. This is the broad model of ESL. It's not only that they are opaque or not transparent. So in a very transparent manner, ESL has developed app and dashboard for various programs. So on every half a minute kind of a schedule, you will find that these figures get updated. So like the National Ujala dashboard, it gives you an information that how many bulbs have been replaced. So this is something like 30 crores bulb. This is the yesterday's figure, 27th March. And this figures, if you go to the website, the dashboard, if you write Ujala in the Google, you will find it. Every half a minute, this gets updated. Similarly, there is a dashboard for ceiling fan. That is the next program. They have just launched it. So 19 lakh 17,000 fan by the 5-star fans are replaced. And again, these fan costs have come down drastically. And another program called Tube Light Dashboard, National Tube Light Dashboard, where the 64 lakhs kind of tube lights have been replaced. Now, just to again reiterate what is the business model. So there are participating vendors on this just for the LED bulbs. So ESL aggregates the demand which comes from various states, and every state provides them the information that, okay, this is what we feel that in the next 6 months, this is the kind of demand. And then ESL aggregates all this, floats a tender, vendors participate in the same thing, and then these tenders, these bulbs are distributed through a distribution center which is set up by ESL in different states. So they have reached out to every nook and corner of this country through district and then certain tehsils also, where these are distributed. There are two options: either the purchaser, the consumer buys it upfront through the upfront payment mechanism, or they can also utilize their electricity utility in the bill. So in the bill, on the bill as it is called. So on the bill, they can pay it on a monthly basis. Although the cost is very low, so most of the consumers actually are preferring for upfront payment. And then all this payment gets aggregated, and ESL makes the payment to the vendors. This is running quite smoothly. With we also did some impact assessment of these light on the consumers from the societal perspective, whether they like it or not, and also at the same time, whether these are running smoothly and there are any hitches or glitches in the whole system. And we found that something like 94% kind of satisfaction level among the consumers in different cities we found out. Okay, just to give you an example as to what this has done, these kind of programs have done in the market. And the LED bulb prices, which was earlier close to 300 rupees, 9 watt LED bulb. 9 watt bulb, LED bulb was 300 rupees. It has come down to less than 50 to 46 rupees to be precise in the August 16 tender. And these are prices which are discovered by the market through the tendering process. Similarly, on the tube light, the price which was 800 rupees has come down to close to 210 rupees. And and the lowest discovered price in the latest tender, we are told, is 140 rupees. Similarly, the fan is the latest entry into this club. The actual price of a 5-star fan earlier was 2000 plus, and it has come down to 1200, 1300 5-star rated fans. A fan is a very large segment because, and just like bulb, incandescent bulb, you'll find that fan is everywhere throughout the country. We're a tropical country, so you'll find that fan is there in every household. And with the more penetration of through the Sobhagya scheme and other 24 by 7, we feel that this segment will rise suddenly, and next year these figures will be drastically up. Next is on overall replication across different segments. What have we learned? So Ujala, zero subsidy model favored, and technology leapfrog led to the supply chain reaction. On the street light program, no upfront cost, and as I mentioned earlier, 50% energy saving, and transparency of operations and outcome for credibility. And I'll only suffice here to say that initially there were a lot of hiccups, and most of the municipalities and the ULBs, they opposed because they had their own favorite vendors, and the ecosystem was such that it was difficult for them that some outside agency will come, replace it, and maintain it for 5-7 years, but they will have no role to play. So that was the initial hitches. But over a period of time, this is going away, and there are 35 million such light points in the street light, and I'm sure that in the next 2-3 years you'll find that most of these are through this undercovered in the SLNP program of ESL. The municipal energy efficiency program is a slow mover as of now. Similar problems as I mentioned in the street light, that it is difficult for the ULBs and the state government to accept that they will have no control on the maintenance, operation, and the replacement of these pumps, where they had large tenders, managing large tenders. So I think the third party coming in managing it efficiently, and they have no role to play again, is a hitch. So this program has started just last year, and there are 300 DPRs already prepared, and they are ready to go. Only thing is that they have to enter into some kind of an MOU or an agreement with ESL before they start replacement of this. Agriculture DSM, already such program is running in Andhra Pradesh. Out of 1 lakh farms initially to replace, something like 25,000 pumps have been replaced. So initially again there was a lot of hitch, but now this is politically sensitive, but at the same time very profitable for the ruling parties anywhere, because the farmers are getting these pumps free of cost, and then the cost is recovered through the energy saved over a period of time. So now there is a lot of demand from different states that similar kind of program they want to run in their own states, either through the distribution company or a central government utility. Electric vehicle program, I have a separate section on this, and this has just started. Building energy efficiency program is another program where the retrofitting in the existing building and the new buildings which come up, they will have their energy conservation building code, which needs to be adhered to. So in the building, in the retrofit program, now ESL is trying to manage a huge number of buildings, state after state, and thousands of buildings, for example, in Maharashtra. Similarly, they are entering into agreements with different state governments for replacement. In a nutshell, if I say that, what has been the impact of the overall programs done till now, because everybody is interested in fine, this is all going fine, and you're saying that regulatory, policy, financing, everything is available. So what have we achieved? So as per the draft on National Electricity Plan, CEA said that 317 gigawatt national power demand in 26-27, and which is now 20% lower than its previous estimate. And this is largely due to the energy conservation and energy efficiency programs, which are rolled out throughout the country by ESL and other energy conservation agencies, and the Bureau of Energy Efficiency because of their policy regulatory, plus the ESCOs who are making it happen on the ground, and the vendors, the manufacturers who have realized that they will have to participate in this program. They can't be left out. And so that is what is changing the whole scenario. So thus no new coal capacities would be required beyond the 50 gigawatt currently under construction. That is what the CEA in their official estimates have come about. ESL programs till now have contributed to something like 8.4 gigawatt kind of demand reduction till date. And with the smart meter program, where they have floated a tender of 50 lakh for UP and Bihar, and another 50 lakh tender, smart meter tender, which they are going to float in the next 1 month. So I think these are mega scale programs, and they are going to change the face of the entire energy industry per se. Effectively, if you see in the breakup of different sectors, 10,000 buildings are envisaged to be retrofitted by energy efficiency measures by 21-22, and these are the kind of saving. I'm not going to read everything through, but something like 1,000 million kilowatt hour just by the building program. In the electric vehicle, something like 5 lakh cars are estimated, and which will be electric vehicle, which otherwise would have been the IC engine. So will result into 8,000 million liters fuel. AGDSM, something like 48 million kilowatt hour per year. Amrit cities, or the municipal energy efficiency program, 4,800 million kilowatt hour. Ujala scheme, 39,000 million kilowatt hour already saved, and 7,000 megawatt avoided peak demand because of the Ujala program. And the street lighting, something like 400 megawatt avoided peak demand and 1,600 million kilowatts. So these are big programs, and they are continuing. And as we go along, they will evolve further, and maybe more business models will come up. I'll come to the second section, and which is the electric vehicle. So as you can see on this slide, India is estimated to have zero 0.4 million or 4 lakh electric two-wheelers, 0.1 million or 1 lakh e-rickshaws, and something like 5,000 electric cars now. And sales of electric vehicles grew by 37% in 2016, and this is largely because of the two-wheeler and the e-rickshaw. So as per the IEA analysis, based on EVI country submissions, we find that every country has a program to promote electric vehicle, but China is, you can single out China because the kind of growth they are having in this market. From 2013, which was negligible for China, now they have captured a very large market of the electric vehicle. India, of course, is not there, but keep an eye on China and Japan, because and the US, of course, that they are the three countries who are going to have a clear lead over the rest of the world. India's EV industry, as we all know, is at a very nascent stage when compared to other international markets. And China, as I mentioned, the share is something like 50% even as of now. Globally, 95% of electric car sales are in the 10 developed countries, and which is expected besides China, US, Japan, Canada, and the 6 leading European countries are gung ho on this. On the central level, some snapshot of EV policy initiative. So MNRE initiative to promote EV, which was in 2010, where they proposed a 20% capital subsidy for EVs, and then National Mission of Electric Mobility, which was a central government scheme, and approval to set up a National Council for Electric Mobility, and to form a National Automotive Board (NAB) to provide technical advisory support. In the year 2013, Mission, National Electric Mobility Mission 2020, Ministry of Heavy Industry, launch of NABM to achieve the following: 7 million sales of EV by 2020, and estimated $2 billion of savings in fuel. Then the most important name in this segment came, which is FAME, Faster Adoption Manufacturing of Hybrid and Electric Vehicle FAME, by the Ministry of Heavy Industry. So launch of FAME India pilot phase, envisaged budget of 7.95 billion rupees across 2 years, and allocation of incentive by technology. So eligibility was two-wheeler, three-wheeler, 4 LCV, SCV, and the retrofit. FAME 1 incentive did not have the anticipated impact actually on the EV penetration. And then recently, just on the experience of ESL in other segments in energy efficiency, government announced of India asked ESL to adopt the same model, so demand aggregation model, and so that the prices come down, and the manufacturers also come on board because they see a huge market. There is one single buyer to whom they can supply these cars. So FAME 1 has been extended till September 2018, and the Department of Heavy Industry is planning to launch FAME 2, and I think in October this year we are expecting that FAME 2 program will be launched. State level policies beside the center, some of the states have also become active. Karnataka has come out with their scheme, an incentive for first 100 charging stations, introduce 1,000 EV buses. They are changing the building bylaws for creating these charging outlets or the ecosystem, and establishment of a special purpose vehicle to create more charging infrastructure in Bangalore. And similarly, Maharashtra said that first 1 lakh electric vehicle registered in the state will be eligible for last user grant, and first 250 charging stations to get a 25% capital subsidy, and electricity tariff to be charged for charging on par with residential and not commercial users, because residential is cheaper as compared to other segments. The UP also came out with their policy in the year 2018 itself, and they said that 1,000 electric vehicle buses to be introduced by the state 2030, green routes to be identified, and tax exemption to buyer, 100% interest-free loans, 30% subsidy on road price of electric vehicle. Andhra Pradesh, the latest one, is they are aiming to bring 10 lakh electric vehicles on road in the next 5 years, and complete reimbursement of road tax and registration fee. And you might be knowing the Delhi government in the last budget has announced that they will procure 1,000 electric buses for the roads of Delhi. In terms of institutional framework, because there is a lot of confusion at times as to who is doing what, and there are so many statements which come out in the newspaper. So NITI Aayog is the coordinator of electric vehicle initiative among different government departments, and there are various ministries and the departments who are working with them. So Ministry of Power has been assigned to look after policy regulatory, and similarly the role of department organization ESL for procurement, large-scale procurement, NTPC responsible for establishing charging infrastructure, and the Bureau of Energy Efficiency to work towards setting the standards for charging infrastructure. Department of Heavy Industry, Bharat Charging Standards AC001 and DC001 as they're called, and managed FAME before it was transferred to NITI Aayog. NETRIP, this is a lab including ARAI, would be responsible for testing of these cars and the charger, and Ministry of Road Transport, administration of the Motor Vehicle Act, and taxation compulsory insurance. Ministry of Housing Urban Affairs for giving the push to the charging ecosystem, and the state governments to come out with their respective policies and implementation. So this is the curve, EV stock projections in 2030. I am just quoting the NITI Aayog report, and where they say that as per the NITI Aayog, EV sales is projected to form 40% of the total motor vehicle sale by the end of 2030, and this is for the new vehicles which will be sold in the year 2030. So four-wheeler consisting of 6 million, two-wheelers 26 million, and three-wheelers of 2.2 million. But it all depends on where the technology, how the technology evolves, and more importantly the battery cost. So if these two factors are amenable, then probably this 40% we are feeling that just like in other sectors, and how we have seen what has happened to the solar, and now even to the wind technology. We feel that this penetration of 40% is on the lower side. It could be on the higher side. But rather than the government coming down heavily and saying no, you have to manufacture only this segment, or stop the IC segment, we feel that let the market forces drive the whole thing, and let it be decided by the consumers and the manufacturers, depending on what is to the benefit of each and every stakeholder, that what should be the penetration. But our feeling is that definitely this penetration of 40% is on the lower side. What are the enablers of an electric vehicle ecosystem? Of course, the manufacturing, which is into vehicle charging equipment, storage, and other ancillary industry. Then there is a software integration, where interoperability of vehicles with charging equipment, and harmonization of Indian charging standard with the global best practices, where there are two main SHAdeMO of Japan and CSS in the China and the European system. Charging infrastructure, adequacy of infrastructure, and the economic feasibility of energy business, and certain incentives and subsidies. which make it complete, which essentially is the frame, and there could be incentive from state government as well, which will make the whole EV more viable going forward. Issues, there are certain issues in the EV and their adoption, like the pricing structure of vehicle charging for electric vehicle owners, business model, what kind of business model and the ownership structure, and the subsidy incentive required. The land is quite a challenging aspect for setting up these charging stations, particularly in a city, and also when these vehicles or the electric buses move from one city to other city. So in the intercity operation, how this charging ecosystem will be created and viably maintained, sustainably maintained, is the big question mark. Charging standards, as I shared, SHAdeMO and CSS, and the grid stability issues are also quite an important factor going forward. And this is an evolving area. So, as we go along and we, think about it and evolve, the kind of solution which is required for a problem. Recent commitments by multilateral agencies again are ready to play an important role, because this is a new area. This is something which cuts across two sectors. I mean, the transport sector and also the energy efficiency. So, and for a country like India, where the dependent on we are dependent on the oil imports to a large extent, 80%. So, if we move towards the electric vehicle segment, it also improves our energy security. So the ADB and the World Bank and the bilateral agencies from Japan and Germany are working in tandem with different government departments in the government of India. So ADB has funded a 400 million line of credit to ESL for supporting demand side energy, which includes a largest part of it will come to electric vehicle procurement. Similarly, the World Bank has approved a $220 million loan and 80 million, 300 million total, 80 million guarantee. And this again will involve a huge amount of money out of this to the EV sector. JICA, because Japan is interested, there are a lot of manufacturers who are interested, in fact, in setting up the manufacturing base in India as well. So Japanese government arm JICA is working with various entities of this government, Indian government, for EV penetration and funding of EV projects. Similarly, because Germany also is a hub for large-scale manufacturing in auto sector, so KFW, which is the arm of the government of Germany, they are also working with ESL and SIDBI for funding in energy efficiency and the electric vehicle program. This is all from my side, and now I'm ready to take any questions which you might have. Over to you.
Thank you. We already have a couple of questions. So the first question is from Anand. It says, what has been the success rate of the Perform, Achieve and Trade, a PAT scheme, in improving India's energy efficiency?
So PAT, there have been two phases of the PAT program. And in the first phase, these were unit-specific targets which were set by the government of India in consultation with the respective units. So I will say that the targets which were set for PAT were not very ambitious. And the targets were in terms of the specific energy consumption, which means that how much energy is to be consumed for per unit output. So as I said that the targets were not very steep, so most of the units have been able to achieve the targets. Actual figures are yet to come out from the Bureau of Energy Efficiency, but I'll say that keeping in mind the kind of targets they had for 478 such units out of the 8 sectors, industrial sectors, the energy saving has been of the order of 15 to 20%. But going forward in the second phase, which has started last year, so targets are much steeper, and the units we talk to say that for some of them, in fact, it will be difficult to meet the target. And just like the REC scheme in the renewable energy sector, they have also this scheme of trading. Somebody who overachieves it can sell it to someone who has not achieved it or underachieved it. So there will be exchange, just like the REC exchange. So these certificates, energy certificates, as they are called, e-certs, they can be traded, and there can be seller and the buyer for the overachiever and the underachiever.
Yes, thank you for that. Next question is from Siddharth, which says, what has been the larger trend of energy intensity in India's GDP growth over past 5 years? Has it gone down, or if yes, why?
No, so energy intensity, as I mentioned earlier, is defined in the megajoules per GDP, unit of GDP per rupee. So megajoules per rupee term, if you see the last 5 year figures, it is actually the trend is on the downside. So energy intensity going down is good for any economy, which means that you are consuming less energy for the same output. So that is what everybody wants, that we should consume less energy so that the production cost is on the downside and we become more competitive in the domestic market as well as for the export in the global market. So trend is on the downside, and as I mentioned earlier, in the economy as a whole, there are many factors which are driving it, the downtrend. One is that we are becoming more and more service oriented in market, and you don't find a large scale, very large scale, mega scale kind of industries which are being set up, for example, in China. But we have large IT sector, so they are creating the rupee, the GDP is enhanced, but at the same time, for the similar output, GDP output, or for the similar productivity output, their energy consumption is much less as compared to the industry. So that is one trend. And second is that various programs, schemes, PAT program, and the industry themselves wanting to become more competitive, they are having their own programs and the schemes and the implementation of energy conservation measures, which is also helping the cause. So together, the energy intensity is going down. Remember, we are electrifying a lot of villages. We are providing energy to a lot of those segments, like the Ujjwala scheme. Now, a lot of LPG is being consumed, whereas there was non-commercial energy used for cooking. So that is also being added into the system. But despite that, the overall impact is still that energy intensity is coming down, which is a good thing for the economy.
Yes. Next question from Sushma. How does India's LED program compare with those in other countries?
So I'll say that such a consolidated or a large scale LED program which India came out with, I don't think that any other country had such a program. So we were the first of its kind, and I'm told that our power minister, when he went to US, and at that time Mr. Obama was the president, and he told Mr. John Kerry in the meeting that this is what the program we have launched, and we also have an app where every half a minute this gets updated. So even he was surprised, and he showed it to his president. That's what the story goes. So I don't think any other country has come out with the scale of program, the scheme that India has adopted, and we have clearly set a target that 770 million light points will be changed by the LED. So, and out of which it's not just the statement, we have actually replaced out of these 770, 300 million light points already, 30 crore. So it's a successful program. No other country has come out before India, but now more and more countries are adopting it, including some of the developed countries. Just to give an example, the same agency ESL has acquired a company in UK, and they are going to replace and participate in the LED in the next few years. Similarly, ESL is trying to acquire a company in the Western Europe, and which is a developed part of the Europe. So they are also going to implement a similar program. They are also looking at South Asian neighbors like Bangladesh or Nepal, but at the same time even Southeast Asia. So, as I said, that globally this is a well-recognized, successful program, and they want to replicate it in their own territories as well.
Yes. We have a question from Monak Modi. The question says, how IoT can play important part in energy efficiency programs by EESL?
A lot, and it has already started happening. I'll give you an example. And AGDSM program in Andhra Pradesh, agriculture DSM program. So as I said, that in that program, the pumps are replaced, existing pump sets are replaced by the energy efficient pumps, and these pumps have a panel. Now this panel actually controls the on-off operation, and through the GSM technology, the farmer through his mobile can control the operation of the pump, which means he can switch on, he can switch off the pump whenever he wants. Obviously, the electricity has to be there. The advantage is that during the night time when he has to go all the way from his house and he has to switch on or the switch off the pump, so he does not have to do any more that kind of operation, and that is because of this kind of IoT operation which is available. Now, this is just one example. In the building retrofits also, the program is to implement IoT in a big way and control and operate all the gadgets so that we have more efficient operation of these gadgets and the energy consumption can be reduced. So as we go along, and the domestic companies are ready to provide that kind of a solution on a scale which is required. What we have seen that there are 2-3 panel manufacturers in Andhra Pradesh, and they are not able to supply that much in a quick span of time. These 25,000 agriculture pump sets in Andhra Pradesh, this took only 4 months for ESL to, and we are managing this program. But we find that the pumps are there, but the panels are not there. So these IoT technology suppliers have to be there in the system as well.
Next question from Atanu. In e-rickshaw segment, typically battery costs around 50,000%. Predominantly, these are sourced from China. What is the plan for in-house manufacturing of battery in a competitive price, maintaining quality?
Well, I think the best person to answer is the manufacturer or those who want to participate in this segment. But you are correct in a way that most of the segments of e-rickshaws are imported from abroad, mainly from China, and they are assembled here and put together for use. And the reason is that they're very cheap, less costly as compared to the manufacturing cost in India if they are going to manufacture it here. So going forward, I think unless somebody sets up this manufacturing facility to for different parts of the e-rickshaw, or even for that matter even the battery segments, it will be difficult to match the cost which China is providing to the Indian consumers. Having said that, I think if there is a concerted effort by different government agencies, and just like they are thinking of e-bus, there are two large manufacturers who are thinking of setting up the bus manufacturing facility here in India, and of much larger scale than what the Tatas and the Mahindras have. So I think if somebody gives a focus to the e-rickshaw, because everybody thinks that it will be difficult, and it's a very low value segment in that sense for these manufacturers. So but the volume is very high, there is no doubt about it. So I think unless that happens, it will be difficult. So I think going forward in the next 1 or 2 years, I don't see any competition to import from China in this segment.
Yes. Question from Ashwin. Incandescent bulbs sales is around 800 million, are still high as compared to LED bulb sales, which is say like 25 million for 2016-17. How do you think Ujala can be extended to reduce ICB sales, I mean incandescent bulb sales, and increase LED bulb sales?
Good question, but as I said that now that we have 30 crores LED bulbs on the ground, so which essentially means that even if you assume that 80% of them are in operation and the rest 20% are coded, or they have purchased and kept in their house, so it's a large use of LED bulbs. And just to corroborate a fact that Philips, one of the largest incandescent bulb manufacturing facility globally of Philips, is in India, and they continue to operate, but at a lesser load factor. So that means their production quantity has come down drastically. That is what we are told, although they do not disclose the exact quantity or exact amount of bulbs which they manufacture every year. But I am told that the number of bulbs they are producing now is coming down year after year, and that is why Philips is giving focus to LED manufacturing in the country itself. right, in India itself. So going forward, I see a definite shift, and the figures which you have quoted is for 2016. But if you see the figure of FY18, there will be a very large shift towards the LED segment than the incandescent. And going forward, I don't think that in the next 5 years, in fact, that you will find much of the incandescent bulb. It will be difficult for anybody to sustain with that kind of facility.
Yeah. So next question is from Nilantika, and question is, what is our plan regarding energy storage, especially renewable energy, or latest research and development in this area? If you can share some light on that.
Well, energy storage, and I think we in the last webinar, we had covered it. But energy storage in India, I think the R&D in that segment, uh, I'll be happy if I'm wrong on this fact, but will not be in India, unfortunately. Largely, it is happening in the developed countries and China. So China is doing a lot of R&D on this front, and I think the storage we will find that in the next few years, in the next 2 3 years itself, the cost will come down drastically. There's a lot of R&D happening on different technologies, and even in the same technology, lithium ion and others, that the cost itself will come down by 50%. That's what people are saying in the next 2 3 years. So if that happens, then the most of our problems are solved, and you will find that renewable energy plus battery storage. The ideal situation is when this combination is at par with the conventional energy generation cost. On that day, we can safely say that all these issues pertaining to intermittent nature of the renewable energy and the cost associated with it, battery storage, the cost being high, those issues will get resolved, and we'll have a more percentage of renewables in the system as compared to the conventional. At the same time, it will also give a big push to the electric vehicle program, because the biggest challenge we are facing is the battery. It's not just the cost, but the efficacy part of it or the mileage part of it. That by one charge, how much mileage a particular battery or a vehicle will get. So right now it is 130 kilometers, for example, for a four wheeler in India. Can it go up to 200 kilometers in one charge? 180 kilometers Mahindra was ready to provide in the first lot of 10,000 electric car tender. So the more the mileage or more than mileage, the more the kilometer run for one charge, then probably even the electric vehicle segment will also get a push.
Yes, absolutely true. Next question from Raju Gulati. What initiative has EESL taken for building which has huge consumption of electricity by air conditioning?
Right, good question. Although I did not cover, but in the AC segment, there are two parts. One is the domestic AC, which is 1.5 ton to 2 ton, kind of window or split AC. And the second segment in the air conditioning is the commercial or the industrial segment, large tonnage of air conditioners. ESL has focused on the domestic segment, 1.5 to 2 tons. Just like the lighting, the fan, and other segments, they also came out with a tender. They aggregated the demand and then came out with a tender for AC also. Uh, Unfortunately, the number of quality players in the AC segment are limited in India. So you have few domestic players and also some of the foreign ones, global brands, which are there. They came together, and probably the price which came down in the large tender was not as expected. And there are reasons which I can't disclose as of now, but that tender effectively got cancelled because the price point, prices which were quoted by different players were in a very, very narrow range. So there was a fear that maybe some cartelization has taken place, or maybe the fact that they can't come down, but the price range they quoted was in a very, very narrow range. So the fact is that now this has not taken off in the fashion it was desired. But very soon, maybe in the next 1 year itself, you will find that some other mechanism will be adopted, and you will find that five-star AC, the prices expectation for a 5-star window AC is less than 20,000. That is the expectation. That is the kind of margin these players are having. That is what we are told, that that is the kind of expectation. But I think sometime after some time, that kind of cartel, if that is a cartel, that will be broken. Uh, Let me also remind that the same thing happened when the LED program was launched. The big players, the big daddies of the LED industry, they did not want to participate, and they said that this will be a failure. But after 6 months or a year, when this actually took off, you will be surprised that the L1 bid, tender after tender, was by all these big daddies. So the same thing we are expecting will happen again in the AC segment, but we'll have to wait a bit because ESL will have to work on their strategy so that they can break this cartel, if I may say so.
Yes. So this is second last question, and this is from Rishikesh. Why setting up of a charging infrastructure for EVs is so slow in India?
Yeah, so the reason is that unless there is a clarity on the policy and also the regulatory piece, it is difficult for any entrepreneur to come forward and set up a charging infrastructure. These things, because the situation is evolving, and there is now a clarity from the government that the sale of electricity will be treated like a service, so which essentially means that anybody can participate. Had it not been treated like a service, then probably only discoms could have taken part in this. So now that that is behind us, so I think that's a big relief to this segment. Now the issues I identify, the land availability, and also the volume. If I set up a charging infrastructure, charging station, but there are not enough vehicles, which come forward and get charged. So the business, the visibility of the business per se is limited as of now. But and that is why the ESL was roped in, that they have to procure 10,000 electric vehicles, so that at least that much mass would be there, and another tender for 10,000 vehicles is being floated. So once this kind of volume is there, at least in the bigger cities, more entrepreneurs will come forward to set up the charging because they will have to see the volume, their business, through which they can make money. So I think this will take time, but as of now, even the charging infrastructure is also being created by the participating government institutions and through ESL. So, for example, in Delhi, 150 such charging stations have been established, and they are since charging only the government vehicles as of now, so they are not charging anyone. But going forward, as more and more vehicles will come into the scene, you will have more entrepreneurs participating in it.
Yeah, absolutely. So volume would definitely play an important role in that. So the last question is policy related. What more needs to be done from policy perspective to ramp up efficiency gains for the industry?
Right. So I'll give a broader answer to this. So two things have already happened in the Indian context on the energy efficiency. One, in the initial phase, early 2000 till 2007-8, when the policies were framed, and as I mentioned, different policy, Bureau of Energy Efficiency Act, Bureau of Energy Efficiency, and different policy. The second phase is when the ESL actually really took off and started implementation on a large scale. So most of the schemes and the policies which were designed have been covered, right? Now, Government of India and Bureau of Energy Efficiency, in consultation with NITI Aayog, had just started the exercise, and we have been hired for this. Going forward from here till 2030, what needs to be done so that India becomes more energy efficient? So we have to work on the sectors, the segments which have not been covered, right? For example, even the transport sector. Other than EV, there is not much happening on this. So labeling of cars and trucks, HCVs, the tires, which if the tire also can become a five-star label, which will consume less friction and the energy. So similarly, other such segments need to be identified. And more than that, just like developed countries, do we have a database to which to rely on? Like, how much, if somebody wants to know in the different segments of the Indian industry and the consumer, commercial, domestic agriculture. If I want to know one single data and what has been the progress on that data from year after year, it is not available. So IEA publishes that kind of a data for different developed countries, G8. But India does not have that kind of it. So we are trying to create the sources, the database sources for which, year after year we can really compare, not just industry, every segment of the society. So that is what is the second phase. So we will have to come. Let us wait for next 6 months. In the October, November of this year, will come out as to what are the next steps required to make India more energy efficient, what needs to be done in terms of policy, regulatory, and the action plan by different stakeholders. So if the suppose it may so come out that B have to reorient itself, the ESL kind of ESL we have to reorient itself. Maybe a third agency, a data source, or something. Niti Aayog roles and will be maybe redefined in terms of energy efficiency. PCRA. There, so different institutional segments how they are placed and complement each other in that sense, that will be decided. So that's a very critical phase which Bureau of Energy Efficiency has undertaken, and this will decide the fate of energy efficiency market till 2030 going forward.
Yes. With that, we come to an end to today's webinar. Thank you, Mr. Amit Kumar, partner Clean Energy PwC India, on the topic energy efficiency, optimizing energy use for a brighter India. Unfortunately, we won't be able to take all the questions due to time constraints. If you have any other questions, please send them at join@etenergyworld.com. It was an engaging and insightful talk, and hope all the participants have enjoyed the session. The recording of this webinar will be made available on etenergyworld.com. Thank you everyone for joining us. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye bye.